Well, good afternoon or good morning, colleagues, wherever you are. A very warm welcome to you for what will probably be our last principals and RECs and DPs and BPs and APs and Lasallian facilitators gathering for the year, although others may arise. But great to see so many of you here, and I appreciate just how busy everyone is. But this is such an important Zoom opportunity because the topic of it, the Together for Mission program, is arguably has the potential to be the signature program in the district, along with a lot of other wonderful opportunities that the Lasallian Mission Services team and the formation team has been working on during the recent years, and particularly for 22. The program for Together for Mission. And if I could just say during this welcome, the biggest possible vote of appreciation to Brother John Cantwell. John, as you know, we're privileged to have a Lasallian academic facilitator, friend to so many of us residing with us, and the amount of time that John has devoted to this program, ably assisted by Philippe, has just been extraordinary. So it's great to see so many of you here, and the hope is always going to be that such a wonderful program is going to be well supported by schools. It's really a wonderful opportunity to really enthuse, and to use a Lasallian term, to be vitalized with the vigor that we associate. So welcome aboard, and thank you very much. Thanks, Julie.
And Phil's leading us in prayer this afternoon. So thank you, Phil.
Thanks, everybody. And so we take a moment to pause and recall that we're in the holy presence of God, the presence of all the people here in our communities that we connect from. And wherever we are across the district, we breathe to be in the presence here and now. We take a moment just to acknowledge the traditional owners of this land in Australia. That was land that was never ceded, through this video produced by ABC Me.
ABC Me acknowledges Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples as the traditional custodians of lands, waterways and skies across Australia. From Mulgana country in the west to Bundjalung country in the east, from Lutruwita in the south to Saibai Island in the Torres Strait, this continent is home to hundreds of different nations whose knowledge has helped shape and evolve our understanding of the land and seas. Today, we pay respect to elders past and present and recognise the contribution of all First Nations peoples to the land we live, learn and play on.
And so with that grounding, we continue with our reflection, our prayer for this morning, from an anthropologist in the 20th century, cultural anthropologist, Margaret Mead, who took time out to be with and study a culture different to her own. She did some early work in the Pacific that challenged her own assumptions and helped her think through, is there a better way to serve her mission? And so over this prayer, as we contemplate Together for Mission, the program, we reflect on the words that appear on the screen. And so as we gather together, we remember what we are here for the mission, for the students and staff that support that mission. And we ask in a particular way, St. John Baptist de La Salle, pray for us and live Jesus in our hearts
Forever.
Thank you.
Thank you, Philippe. And it's an absolute privilege to introduce Helen Kelly to you all. Helen was part of our initial program, and she comes to us with significant Lasallian experience, both at St John's Dandenong and now at St Bede's Bentone. And she's just here today to share a little bit about her experience with the program and just to give you a few insights into how it all went, what she gained from it, and it's a great opportunity just to share. So thank you, Helen.
Thank you. Okay. Imagine, if you will, it's late October, around this time 2 years ago. You have to leave behind several senior classes to fend for themselves as they're facing their big exam. It's frenetic, it's rushed at school. I have to leave frozen meals at home because no one cooks. But I'm off to the Inaugural Together for Mission, and I have very little idea what it is, but being in Brisbane sounds like a great idea. So, a day later, I'm at Moreton Bay, hence the background, at the Ormiston Retreat Centre with a view like this. And there's a Carmelite nunnery next to us, which had mass every morning where the nuns sang. This was the beginning of the retreat. And this was a 5-day program, very similar to the famous Badamar program in New York, which I always wanted to go to, but didn't have the time. And here we have it in Melbourne, so I'm excited. There are 15 other Lasallian teachers from Pakistan, New Zealand, the Philippines, and of course, Australia. And we are going to be immersed in the very French world of our founder, Jean-Baptiste de La Salle, and be infused with his charism and dedication to this vocation, that through the needs of the poor, we discover our purpose in God. And just a side note, all the meals were done for us, and there was drinks at the end of every session. It was really great. And thank you, Brother Cantwell, for choosing the wines. Now, during this 5 days, we got to study some key aspects of the Lasallian mission and history, and we were guided by 2 of the great theologians, Brother John Cantwell and the renowned Brother Gerard Rummery. So privileged. We focused on Jean-Baptiste de La Salle himself, and we were imbued with his spirit and his vision, and in that very French tradition. And what you came away with was his unrelenting trust in God's providence in the face of adversity. We then looked at a wonderful thing called the Pedagogy of Fraternity. And this for me was a breakthrough moment. I really got what sets apart Lasallian schools. We work together as staff for our students. That is our mission. And we're reminded of that with those students in front of us. We were reminded that this work is a sacred project, a holy encounter and a divine adventure. And our poor today, especially coming from Australia, I was reminded more that our poor, it's a spiritual poverty. And in some ways, that's even more difficult than a physical poverty. We also looked at the very famous framework that Jean-Baptiste set up called the Conduct of Schools. And what I didn't realise is how revolutionary this was. He took some fairly rough characters and elevated them to be disciples of Christ on the same level of priests at that time. And that was so revolutionary, and I still think we're feeling the effects of that today. But more of that later. Apart from the inculcation of the charism and its history, we were also privy to the many works of the mission. Tracy Adams informed us of Your Town and all those associated projects. We heard from Brother Bray and the work he does at Bethlehem University with both Christian and Muslim students in that very difficult context of Israel. And we also met Brother Bill, who how he established a school in war-torn, the civil war of South Sudan. And so, what does this mean for us here in Australia, October 2021, for you, for our students, the Lasallian mission, the world? Some 300 years ago, St. John Baptiste de La Salle revolutionised teaching, the teaching profession, by embracing the laity and elevating them to be disciples of Christ and charging them to see that teaching was a divine calling. Here in 2021, our brothers are elevating us to this mission too and renewing us, inviting us to be co-creators with them for the future, for the next 300 years. And without all of us working together, or we need all of us to work together to ensure that Lasallian education is still relevant, that it still matters in an ever-increasing secular world. So what's in it for you? Anyone attending is tasked with a project to ensure that the 3 pillars of faith, service and community are visible both physically and spiritually back in your school. The project demands that whoever attends works closely with the principals to ensure that the spirit of our founder will last another 300 years. So I think for principals, you've got a wing with you to help you really bring Lasallian education forward. This task has to be collective so that we can all repeat John Baptiste de La Salle's mantra, Lord, the work is yours. So what are we going to do for the next 300 years? Together for mission. That's what we're going to do. Okay, that's it.
Thanks, Helen. Thanks so much for the obvious zeal and the enthusiasm and the expert nature with which you've spoken about the course. That was terrific. I'll check my calendar and see what my availability is to be there on the basis of that. Thanks so much, and thanks for your long-standing Lasallian commitment both at St. John's and now at St. Bede's. You've been a great scout for the mission, and we appreciate it very much.
Oh, it was wonderful. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Helen. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Helen. And now, without further ado, the maestro himself, the one and only Brother John Cantwell, who is the Chief Cook, Bottle Washer, Designer of the Together for Mission program. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Merv. And thank you very much, Helen. Helen was an especially enthusiastic member of the group, as you can see. I want to begin by acknowledging that the development of this program continues to benefit enormously from the advice and the support and the encouragement of Merv McCormack, our director. A little word about the name of the program. Our approach, and Helen has already emphasised this, has always been to conduct our ministry together and by association. That comes right from the beginning of the Institute and Lasallian family, as does our purpose within God's mission, which is to give a human and Christian education to the young, especially the poor. So our aim for Together for Mission, as it was when Helen did her program in 2019, is this. So together, our personal and collective capacity, education in its broadest sense, and particularly for the most vulnerable. Who's the program for? So we look forward to welcoming teachers, youth workers, educators, trainers, leaders, emerging leaders from your town and schools. 4 residential blocks of 4 working days over 2 years. And one way of saying what it's all about is that there are 2 interactive parts to it, the foundations of Lasallian ministry and the practice of Lasallian ministry. and those expressions will come up again later. But an ongoing interaction between those two things. Professor Gerard Moore will tell us more about this process, but very much a matter of reflecting on foundations, reflecting on our practice, and vice versa. All of that happens over those 4 blocks, and they are the dates next year and the year after. And at the very understandable request of principals of schools, especially, and particularly in this part of the world, in school holidays, because it is becoming prohibitively expensive to release teachers from school. There are 4 interconnected focal areas: young people, our story, education and well-being, values and spirituality, strengths, vulnerabilities, needs. Living well is, in fact, an expression that De La Salle used himself. (2034), a little bit arbitrary, but 2034 is the year in which the young people entering reception at St Michael's in Adelaide next year will be doing year 12. And we want to do all of that against the background of those principles that underlie our work and give meaning to it. So principal focus is young people in schools and your town, and that's the thread that runs through the whole program. We're also concerned, of course, for the well-being of educators, both in their own right and because they can't do very much about the well-being of young people if they're not in a good place themselves. Teachers will recognise that a lot of this covers at least 5 of the 7 Australian professional standards for teachers: knowing students, planning for effective teaching and learning, supportive environments, engaging in professional learning, especially with colleagues, parents and community. And we think our story has something to contribute to that. In a little more detail, special focus on the young people that we're actually dealing with COVID in the background, hopefully less and less, but also against the broad background of research about young people, particularly from your town, but Mission Australia and other sources, advocates in various states, and who amongst our young people are the most disadvantaged. We're looking at the story from the point of view of effectiveness, and the different things that they tried to meet different needs, even in those early years of our history. We want to celebrate what we're doing particularly well at the moment, as we are. Since it's a project, we want to make sure that it's consonant with anything else that's being developed in the school or your town department. Have a critical look at education and wellbeing trends, and then identify a local need. What are the values that come from our story, which is where our fundamental values come from? And what makes sense in our own particular workplaces? And let's reflect also on our personal values and spirituality. This quick flip through is really suggestive rather than exhaustive, but young people do have strengths, don't they? And from your town and kids helpline, we know some of the issues that they have been facing. We're privileged to have access to the research that your town are doing in terms of the government-sponsored program, Your Voice, and also a special survey that Kids Helpline are doing for us. In particular, we want to learn from each other. That's how it all started. We want to know what's going on in the world of evidence-based research. what's happening on the international front in terms of educational research, and a strong emphasis on leadership. As far as our story goes, Dulawan and the very early team of brothers tried lots of different things. Sometimes they worked. Usually they worked if the brothers were left alone to do it. And then how is all of that going to evolve as we meet changing needs in different contexts? Helen has already said something about our values. That's Dulawan's fundamental value, that the work that he was doing was in fact God's work. We've already all seen, I'm sure, diagrams such as this, the 5 core principles. If we look elsewhere, we'll find 7 or 12. Your town have 5 currently, with 1 on the way, may already be there. The document that came from Rome last year, identity criteria for a vital Lasallian institution, and our homegrown development of that have 27 criteria. So it's a matter of working out which ones of those apply particularly to our workplace. And one of the values that's very important to us and to this program is that statement from the 2020 Declaration: being Lasallian does not depend on belonging to a particular culture or a religious creed. We want to look at some of the research about the state of religion in young people, and for that matter, the state of religion in ourselves. As far as certification goes, there are 2 aspects to that. It's possible to, in fact, everybody who takes part in the program will receive a joint Broken Bay Institute, Tate, we'll come to that in a moment, plus the Gerard Institute certificate of completion. It's also possible to do 1 or 2 units at master's level with the Broken Bay Institute. The first one we simply do by satisfactorily completing the learning activities of the program, and they're all done within the program. The 2 units are these. They're significantly discounted, as I'll explain in a moment. They're each worth 10 credit points at master's level, or grad cert or diploma, whichever. And one leads to the other. You don't have to do them both. To do that, you enroll in Broken Bay Institute, complete the TFM learning activities and the assessment tasks. But these are not separate, they're related, they're all connected. A little more about those units. The Broken Bay Institute, the Australian Institute of Theological Education, has 4 disciplines, basically, within which their programs run. These are ours. So they're within this discipline of leadership and theology. Don't be frightened by the word theology, where the whole program is looking at our ministry and the leadership of our ministry in terms of our values and spirituality. In terms of cost, this is to Broken Bay Institute, 1,250. It's probably a greater saving than that because these are prices from last year. So thanks to Professor Moore, these units are significantly discounted because we're doing most of the teaching. It's starting to sound like a TV commercial, but it's not 2,500. If you do both units, 1,750. So an overall saving of over $3,000. The program itself including accommodation, a good number of meals, certification, and so on, 2,250. The learning activities, I'll go through this very quickly. So there's a private journal, which is private. There's a journal for writing up what you're learning at the moment, and a report to the sponsoring workplace leader about what you'd like to do. If you're doing the BBI assessment tasks, there's a critical review and there's a portfolio. The review is open wide to any topic from those 4 overlapping focal areas. There's an action plan, and that leads into the portfolio, which is about a collaborative project. But they're not separate, as I said. There's a flow together. The action plan, even from the critical review, becomes enacted in the collaborative project. So we'd like to think that the whole thing is very integrated. So thank you again, Helen, and thanks, Julie.
Thank you, Brother John. What an amazing presentation. It's always wonderful to hear from Brother John. And I always enjoy listening to him and seeing Lasallian education come to life through the presentations that he gives. So thank you. I'd like to introduce you now to Professor Gerard Moore in relation to accreditation, credentialing, and learning outcomes. Thank you, Professor.
Okay, look, thank you. So I'm Gerard Moore. I'm the principal of Broken Bay Institute. And in terms of accreditation, we've been working with Brother John and the team to do a couple of things. One is to ensure that the TFM program is able to be looked at and assessed in terms of quality adult learning and quality tertiary standards. And often systems that work in the high school area don't quite get that right. So having us on board has given us an opportunity to work together to ensure that this is able to be seen as quality adult learning and at different levels on the Australian quality framework. So we've been integral in the actual building of the program. So that was good. The second thing, and Brother John's slides were excellent, and we might pull them back a bit later. What we're able to do is 2 things, as we can put our name as a learning institute behind the program. So anyone who participates in each of those 4 blocks is able to emerge with a digital certificate that is Gerard Brummer Institute, but also with our backing as well, because we're very impressed with the work that's been done, with the quality of the research, the quality of the material, and the dynamics that are there. Second, so that's just for anyone who participates. For those who then wish to participate, but also then gain credit towards their tertiary learning, so a graduate certificate, graduate diploma, graduate or master's units, we've worked with GRI to ensure that we can set up a program whereby you can engage with 2 of the blocks and then emerge, enroll in a particular unit, the first unit, and do the work, and I'll show the work in a second, and emerge with 10 credit points. So that's a good swag of credit points in a degree program. And Brother John has shown you we're actually quite, because we want to work with you, we're quite keen to reduce the cost considerably. You've already got enough costs, so it's not fair to double those or to add extra costs for those doing accreditation. And then with the second 2 blocks next year, the person could enroll in those 2, or having enrolled in the first ones or not, and also complete them for an accredited unit. And they get on their transcript a proper accredited unit, not just a block credit. So it looks actually what you see what you get, and you'll have the digital certificates as well. With that, I do want to stress that the type of assessment we really enjoy creating and working with in this situation are praxis-based projects. So they include engagement with some theory, engagement then in the workplace, and also then doing projects and having people work with them and sharing materials. So those 4 things are what we really try to build in. We're really not terribly interested in giving people lots of knowledge. It's a good thing, it's very nice, doesn't get you very far when you get back into the classroom. It needs to be knowledge that can be worked into the practical situation and knowledge that can be shared. So if I could just crave your indulgence for a very ordinary looking slide here. The sorts of, if you're doing it for the accredited unit, these are the sorts of things we'd be interested in. So for 1 unit, it would be a research essay on evaluating the application of the Lasallian principles. So it's actually getting into the theory, engaging with the theory. The second one then builds on that. And this is the work that's done across the units themselves, across the blocks. In consultation with the lecturer, we always write that. The topic for one of the 4 streams is the research and Lasallian principles, what we have been covering in those 4 days, key challenges, and an initial action plan building on this research on Lasallian principles. That is something that then can be taken back to the workplace and worked on. So you've got the working with theory, then application of theory. In the second unit, we push that further. There's more theory, and then there's actually a project that the people who engage with that have to enact and do and come back with feedback. So across the 4 units, we are trying to build this sense of theory, engagement, praxis, and then communicating it back. So in terms of our role in accreditation, we're very keen to work with the system to give a certificate of accomplishment to anyone who completes the block, and that will be basically set at, say, level 5, AQF level 5, which is around the vet level. And we're also keen to engage in those who wish to do further study to make it quite straightforward for this work to become part of units in a degree program, and at a way that's affordable, because we do know that people are already putting out a lot of time, putting out a lot of money. So we simply wish to build and honour that commitment.
Just if I could just say something at this stage. Thanks very much, Gerard. We really appreciate that presentation. I guess from the LaSalle Centre's perspective, our hope will be that if not in 22, but ideally it would be great, that each principal would see the course and the opportunities for promotion of the Lasallian mission to be of such significance that that one person from a school may undertake the course, someone who clearly has a sense of commitment to the mission, and because one of the realities that we feel at the LaSalle Centre is that if we don't encourage that deep commitment from people who are not just good teachers but and committed Lasallians, but have a depth of knowledge and an appreciation beyond where they might be. So we'd really love to think that, especially those of you in senior positions as principals, deputies, assistant principals, vice principals, RECs, would be encouraging of the course to say, I think we've got the right person to take the course even in 22, and we've already had significant interest from a number of, some schools are sending 2 people or have already booked a place. But for those, especially for those schools whose participation in courses has been perhaps a little thinner than others, to give serious consideration to it. So, yeah.
I'd like to hand over to Philippe in relation to the registration process.
Thanks, Julie, and thanks, everyone. With this, the registration process is quite simple and easy. The date to remember is November 12th this year. We're seeking, due to the venues and caterers and making the proper arrangements, that's the date we're working towards. And from there, registration deposit will be sent as an invoice to your community, so to reserve your spot for TFM in 2022. There is a minimum number of people required to register to ensure the TFM goes ahead due to the need for confirmation. And participants, of course, will require the discussion with yourself and approval from their principal or your town CEO manager, as you can see with the learning modules in place that they want to have discussions with you before joining. And then the next step by November 12th is really simply to email Brother John, and his email is obviously made available to each of you, with the number of TFM participants and their proposed participants with their contact details. And then following this, our registration form will be sent out to those participants to get all the right information for them to arrive safely next year in April.
Following on from Philippe, for anyone who then wishes to do the program as an award unit, they don't have to enroll in it straight away. They can enroll in that in later in probably June. So they will have done one of the full blocks. They've got a good sense of what it's like. We can work with as long as they identify themselves, we can start them working on their assessment tasks, but we can hold the enrollment in the unit back until about June, which makes it much easier for them then to have a sense of, yes, I want to do this, no, I don't want to do this, so they don't feel trapped. They don't get caught up in losing their money. And also they can put the cost of the unit on fee help for those as possible. So there's a few extra things there.
I know that our team has reached out to all the schools and works in relation to formation requirements for 2022, and we've been absolutely overwhelmed with the commitment that principals and RECs have shown to faith formation within their schools. So thank you everyone for your commitment and connection to our team as we journey towards the end of what's been for all of us such a tough year. And we're certainly looking forward to our team coming back out into schools and works and to share our talents and gifts with you all. But we really see Together for Mission as an opportunity to really share each other's talents and form community and grow with one another. So thank you for your time today.
Well, folks, I think that draws this afternoon's presentation an opportunity to a close. I'll conclude by thanking John and Gerard in particular, ably supported by yourself, Philippe, particularly around administration and management of the process. Helen, your enthusiastic, full of zeal presentation. Good to see you in action again. And can do no more than say thank you to all of you for giving us your valuable time this afternoon. And I know that none of your participants at TFM, or in fact, even yourself, principals, APs, VPs, DPs, RECs, whatever, will be disappointed with the participation in the course. So thank you one and all, and have a good afternoon, and hopefully a very good finish to your academic year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.